It started with the stairs. Not the echo your footsteps marble kind, just the industrial staff staircase on the north end of the American Museum of Natural History, back behind the security corridor that splits the Hall of African Mammals and the service elevator bay. I'd never taken them before that Tuesday night. I usually exit through the security gate on the lower level near the lockers. But that evening, somewhere around 6:30 p.m., I was walking down those rear stairs because I hadn't wanted to wait for the elevator. I was tired. There had been a power flicker around 5, and the elevators had reset, and the whole wing had fallen into that odd silence that happens when the lighting system fails to hum in the same rhythm. I work maintenance clipboards, basically contractor logs, boiler inspections, duct pressure. 14 years with the city museums, 2 kids in Washington Heights, 1 divorce, looming long and slow. It was late April, already humid in that way New York gets when spring doesn't really exist at all, just a wet shrug between cold and suffocating. And my shirt was sticking under my arms as I took the first metal step. What struck me wasn't anything clearly wrong, just by the time I hit the 4th flight down, the shape of the light felt off. Glare bouncing differently than it should. A fluorescent stutter I couldn't quite pin to a fixture. It was like walking through a copy of the Stairwell, same yellow paint, same embedded dust lines where people scrape furniture against the wall going down, but something slightly too symmetrical. On the landing between B1 and B2, I stopped because the air felt wrong. Not heavy or cold, just indifferent. Like the space wasn't tuned to the building anymore. No footstep echoes behind me, no motor gut punch from the elevator car. I waited for the motion lights to dim like they always do when you stop moving, but they didn't. They stayed on in full blast and then, just for half a second, everything flickered and the lights reset brighter, like they'd recalibrated themselves mid-cycle. I remember the way my phone screen lit up my jeans pocket from inside. Brightness surged from a notification, but I never checked it, just kept descending. Another flight. Another. I realized I should be at the bottom. The service sub-basement isn't that deep. 4 flights down from G should put you at B3, equipment corridors, oil filter storerooms, but I kept passing identical mid-landing fire doors, each yellow, each stenciled B2, B3, though the concrete between the doors accumulated grime more thickly than above. I stopped to see if my steps echoed back up toward where I started. Nothing. So I turned around, climbed 1 flight back. Same corridor door, different scuff marks. No signage change. It was like I was in a loop, altered every cycle by a hairline percentage of decay. Paint bubbling, screw heads rusting in ways I was trained to notice. Back up at the 4th landing, I tried the door handle. It opened, but behind it was only another set of stairs going down. No hallway, no junction. I remember this stretch of stone gray concrete wall on my left. Same 3 conduit lines, aligned shoulder height, just below an old security camera housing. But the camera inside wasn't bird brand. Those things haven't been used since 2011. And its blinking LED pulsed in a tacit rhythm, not a diagnostic pattern, more inquisitive. That's not the word. Observational, maybe. I opened my phone. No bars. Not one. And I was still in the building. 4 stories underground at most. Battery read 83%, but the icon blinked red, like it couldn't reconcile the state. I turned back toward the stairwell and remember tracing the handrail with my palm to feel for the place it was bolted in. Cold metal, fine powder grit, a groove worn smooth by something repeatedly gripping that spot. I started calling out, low at first. "Hello? Anyone down here?" Nothing. Just the faint hiss of the HVAC that had probably sounded normal if I weren't suddenly measuring time in tension rather than seconds. After 6 landings, I passed a longer landing with a janitor's sink, the first distinct architectural detail I'd seen since I started descending. Same type we had on 1S, chrome bowl in a pitted metal cabinet, corrosion ring inside but dry. I opened its cabinet doors. Empty. But just as the hinges creaked, I heard something from above. A faint step. Not echo, not vibration. A single footfall bending the metal of one stair. I moved quickly, trying to put that sink floor behind me. The next landing didn't have a door, just a wall. And the conduit stopped there. Vanished flush into poured concrete. I'm trained to check mistakes in architecture. Emergency access, route signage, maint access plates. Nothing was marked. I started to feel stupid, like maybe I'd spun myself around or panicked into disorientation. I turned on my flashlight, the little one clipped to my belt. Beamed it upward. Only empty shafts and landings above. Dust hanging in the air, floating. The way it floats when it's undisturbed. Undisturbed for years, I decided to go back up using 3-count pattern steps, counting every stair tread. 9 stairs, landing. 9 stairs, landing. But after 6 cycles, I was still staring at concrete. A thudding panic rose from somewhere lower than my lungs. Something about the consistency of the stairs, the way the anti-slip strip was always misaligned on the second from bottom step. Not a copy. The same. No security badge door at the top. No signals, just more stairs. At 7:12 p.m., I know because of the phone, I started filming a timestamp video in case I needed help rescuing. I narrated into the mic, gave my name, employee ID, museum ID code, location, stairwell ID, STN4. I uploaded the video, got a send failed message, then queued. Then the phone screen froze halfway through a screen wipe. It stayed like that for 10-15 seconds before suddenly going dark. Just went matte black solid. I pressed the home button. Nothing. The screen felt warm, as if overworked. I sat there on the landing a minute, hyper aware of the sound my own breathing made. The stairwell wasn't just quiet, it was subtractive. No live wire hum, no ventilation echo, not even voice bounce when I cleared my throat. I remember the irony. I'd spent half my career writing non-compliance reports about missing stairwell acoustic tiling, and now I'd found a perfect vacuum box and couldn't get out. Somewhere around my 7th or 8th attempt to climb back up, I saw it. Not a person, not a movement, a shadow. Not cast, just wrong. A dark splotch at the corner where a landing wall met the floor, but too sharp-edged for ambient shadow. More like 1 tile's worth of saturation, absorbing the light. At first I figured it might be mold, or some odd corrosion trace from the sink above. But when I stepped onto the next stair, it slid. Not fast, just receded. perfectly matching the path of retreat as I advanced. The light didn't chase it. It moved regardless of angle or brightness. Somewhere deep in my sense of proportions, I knew I was too far underground. The pressure in my ears wasn't matching elevation. Some part of me wondered if I'd passed a point I wasn't supposed to cross. Like I'd gone into some older, unaccounted for level of the building. Something they forgot to demolish when the museum was updated in '72. That story someone told me about the abandoned MTA tunnel they rediscovered under the Upper West Side. The one full of '70s-era signage and broken payphones. Except I was in the space, not looking through chain link, and the coldness of the rail beneath my fingers never changed. I went down again, not to escape, just because I realized it was the only direction that offered movement. 2 more flights, another wall, then an empty frame, metal door gone, just the rectangle. Dark inside. Didn't feel like a room. Felt like a transition. I edged toward it. Stuck my head slightly past the threshold. It didn't smell like the museum, or rust, or city. It smelled like pages that had gotten wet and frozen, then dried in a sealed box. Stale ink. Cellulose resin, brittle with time. I reached in with the flashlight. Beam didn't penetrate, just stopped. Like it turned opaque, 80 inches in. My breath fogged, even though the stairwell had been warm all evening. I took 3 steps in, turned and looked back. The stairwell was still behind me, but somehow misaligned. The angles, the corners met wrong. Like Photoshop perspective fail. I backed out. The hallway resisted slightly, like the air itself pushed. That's when the light changed. Slowly, just the color temperature. Fluorescent hue shifted warmer, thicker, like incandescent filtration. Then sound came back. Not loud, just toneless bass. As if a field recording from somewhere else had seeped in. There were voices, not distinct words, but that effect old cassette tapes get when bled over. Someone in another room years ago, softly muffled. I stood still. 10 minutes, maybe more. My phone powered back on. No unlock screen, just the open camera app, video recording, aimed at the floor. I hadn't pressed record. I stopped it, checked the footage. 19 minutes and 11 seconds. The video had nobody, but every so often the corner dark patch flickered across a frame, moving unnaturally fast, blurring only on the bottom third of the image. I tried climbing again. This time the stairs changed. Carpeted. Only the top 6 steps. Familiar carpet. I recognized the dense institutional weave from my son's school auditorium. Then not carpeted. Then terrazzo. Like hospital hallways. No logic to it. The railings shifted too, from the brushed aluminum handle to powder-painted steel, then to wood. At some point, I think 8:04 p.m., I reached a landing where music played faintly. Museum lobby music. The same looping MIDI-style Mozart they've used for evening events since before streaming. I shouted. No response. But this time, there was an exit door that opened to a hallway. On the other side, lockers. Blue plastic, rectangles the height of my chest. Our public coat room. Same spatial layout, but emptier, dustless. Tags missing on the bins. The digital LED panels above each locker slot displayed unreadable jumble. Symbols I knew weren't in any font set. I moved forward, out into the gallery level. Fossil halls silent. No the security guard booth. No cordoned ropes around the exhibits. But the black glass floor tiles had boot prints, crisscrossing in flowery residue. Modern footprints, days or hours old, not mine. I tested the door to Roosevelt Rotunda. Locked. I backtracked toward the bathrooms. On the hallway wall, where the museum maps are usually posted in light boxes, there was a printed floor plan I'd never seen. More levels beneath the subfloors I knew. Sub-basement D, E, and an unlabeled H. No markers, no exits. I started hearing myself. From below, voice echo. Playback delay, maybe. Only not my current sentences. Earlier ones. Audio of me narrating the failed upload I had recorded. Then older audio, talking about inspections from a different day. My phone vibrated. Unknown notification. Re-enter Stairwell. That's all it read. No app source. Just static headers where any ID should be. I moved back toward the service stairs. They had closed. No handle on the door this time. Just a blank plate with the imprint of the museum's original logo, used from 1935 to 1959. Stamped in oily residue. I pressed my hand to it. No yield. Lights above dimmed one by one, an unspooling sequence 12 feet apart. I sat down on the public bench, across from the coat room drop and sign line. Waited. No security sweep came. No maintenance staff. My phone began flashing its flashlight in SOS. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. I didn't initiate it. Couldn't stop it. Battery red. 62%, then 0%, then jumped to 79%. I dropped it. Didn't shatter, just kept pulsing light from the floor. That was 49 hours ago. I haven't seen a clock change since. Every few hours, the museum resets layout. Walls alter. Bench gone. Phones flicker back on, then go dead. But I stay near the stairs. Because something moved below, a shape pacing the basements. Too fast to see. Reflects light wrong. Sometimes I hear my own voice arguing with someone. A voice I know. My ex-wife, Andrea. From a call we had last summer. Word for word, she's shouting about me missing Jonah's parent-teacher. Then her voice stops mid-word, cuts to sobbing. Sometimes I hear tapping from the door I can't open. Not random. In code. I used to know Morse. Thought I could make some of it out. Once it tapped, not first. Then, still inside. The museum's closed. No more guests. No cleaning crew came last night. The HVAC hasn't cycled. But the cameras inside the wall housings blink to life once in a while, tracking. Sometimes I see myself at the end of the hallway, just for a blink, facing the wrong direction, then gone. I keep trying the stairs, every 2 or 3 hours. I feel it watching, waiting, like it remembers things about me I don't, like it knows what I dropped and why it matters that I refused that elevator. No exits, no alarms, just the stairs, taking me back down again.